Hi there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All Educational Videos channel. We are continuing with Scratch tutorials, we are continuing with learning Scratch blocks, and in this video today we are going to try to learn how and when to use Scratch block, which is named if on edge bounce. Okay, so let's go to Scratch to see that in action. In last video, which was about rotation, and it was about explaining Scratch block point towards, I did not make any, I haven't made any concrete example for our game, so I apologize for that. I will try to think about something useful for our game which will use this block point towards. For now on, I cannot imagine anything really useful for our cat game. I have explained that you can use that Scratch block to make a tower defense game and top-down shooters, but I just cannot think anything about our game which can be fun and interesting to make. So if you can think about anything, just type that in comments, so maybe we can try to make it for our game. Okay, let's go to today's topic. Today we are going to explain again one of the motion blocks. It's one of the last blocks of motion blocks, and it's called the if on edge bounce. Let me think just where and how to use it. We're not going to use it with cat, we are going to import some other sprite. Let's see what we can import to be interesting and fun. Yeah, I will probably go with this mouse, maybe. And this mouse sprite, as you can see, it has some kind of animation. If you hover over it, a mouse is moving his tail and pose, and it's like some movement animation, so we can use that also. But more important is that this is top-down sprite, which I was talking about earlier. So this is what mouse would look if you were above it, on the top of it, and you were looking from the top to the down, and that's why it's called top-down sprite, top-down game, and so on. And this owl or this kid is not top-down, it's like you're watching it from first-person perspective, and this mouse is from top-down. And I'm going to click and select that mouse so I can start coding it. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop. Oh, this is very small. I'm going to zoom it now quite a couple of times to see it more clear, and I just drag this if on edge bounce Scratch block, which we are going to learn today. But before using it, we have to use some other blocks and explain what this block does. Okay, so what this block does is that if you have some character, some sprite which moves, so this Scratch block is used, as much as I know, only with movement blocks, only with some kind of movement. Why? Well, because if you move your character like I'm moving the mouse now on the Scratch stage, I have clicked on the mouse and moving it by click and dragging it to the left and the right, just to show you how this Scratch block will work. So don't worry, this is not coding yet. So if this mouse is going to move from left to the right, and if it hits the edge of the screen, the edge of the stage like this, sometimes you won't maybe you will want the mouse to stay like that, but sometimes you will want him to bounce from that edge. That means like turn around and move into other direction. So now go from right to left. Then if you hit this left border of the stage, bounce again and go to the right, and so on. So it's like a bouncing ball. Bouncing means change your direction in opposite. Change your movement. Change your movement in opposite direction. So if you were going from left to right, bounce from the wall and change it from right to left. Then if you bounce, then change again from right to left to right, and so on. So it's like when you have a ball and you hit it off the wall, it will bounce away. That's it for this block. That's why how you will use it, and you will use it for some maybe enemies. Like if you want some kind of, later we can make maybe some kind of enemy for the cat, which will move left, right, and so on. So if cat touches it, it will die, and if cat moves on without touching it, it can progress far away, and so on. So anyway, let's try to code this mouse to do something useful or funny on the stage. Okay, we have this if on edge bounce scratch block, but as I said, that block will work only with movement blocks, only when some character, some sprite is moving. So for the start, let's make this mouse move, which will be very good exercise for us to see how much we have learned from previous lessons I have already made. If you have watched them, you should be able to do this alone on your own. So you can pause this video now and try to make this mouse move from this position here, from center of the stage to the right of the stage, to the right board. I think you should be able to do it now on your own. Sorry. If not, just follow me. I think I will make it fast, so you can just follow my steps. Okay, first of all, I want this mouse to move to the right. So I have to go to the motion blocks, which are blue. I click on them, and I need, what kind of block? I need move block, or as we have learned before, change by X block. If I click on them, they will look more or less the same. Move, it moves to the right. Change, it moves to the right also. But if you have watched our previous lesson, you know that change X means that this mouse can move on X only, and this move means that this mouse can move diagonally if its rotation here is different than 90 or minus 90. Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to try to stick with this change X by 10, which will mean that this mouse will move 10 steps, 10 pixels to the right. And I will hide this arrow first because it's on our way. Okay, so when do I want this mouse to move? I want this mouse to move when the game starts. How it's done? How is that done in Scratch? And defined with event block, which is yellow, which we have learned before, and the first one from the top, which says when green flag is clicked, that means when the game starts. So when the game starts, I want the mouse to move 10 steps to the right, meaning change X by 10. Let's click on the green flag and see what will happen. Cool, mouse moved, but why it stopped? Well, because we never ever told him to keep on moving. Scratch doesn't know that we want to move again and again and again until the mouse comes to the end of the stage. So either we can duplicate this 10 or 15 or 500 times, which would be really stupid. Why? Because when you have to repeat something like that in programming, there must be some smarter way to do it, and we have learned that also before. We want this change x to repeat itself either couple of times, either forever. For my idea, I think forever will work better than this repeat. You can also try with repeat if you haven't used it before to see how it works, but I will use forever. And now I will attach this change x by 10 into forever. So now when I press the green flag, what will happen? Mouse will change its position on x-axis by 10 steps to the right, but it will happen forever because we have used forever block. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it worked great. Mouse moved all the way to the right. We can only see its tail, but we have another problem now. No matter how many times I clicked on this green flag, mouse is not moving anymore. Is it dead, or is it asleep? What happened to the mouse? Well, mouse did only what we have told him to do. He moved to the right, and he is trying to move also, but he is at the end of the stage, so he's not coming back until we tell him to come back to the starting position. Scratch doesn't know. We want mouse to start from the same starting position every time, so we have to tell Scratch that, and we have to tell him in his way by code. Where to find that code and how to tell it to the Scratch? Well, again, because we the problem I have now is to make mouse start from the center of the stage every time. So every time when the green flag is clicked, I want my mouse to start from the center of the stage. Center of the stage is also position, so it's also in coordinate system, so it's also with x and y coordinates, and because of that there must be some motion block which we can use to help us to solve this problem. We have used that before, but some of you which didn't follow our lessons can learn that now. There is a block called go to x and y position, drag and drop it from the left to the right, and this block is interactive, meaning it will show you when you change position of your sprite or anything on the stage. These coordinates, these numbers, these values in this x and y coordinate fields will change. And that's how I can understand and see where our mouse is right now. Our mouse now is at 274 on the x-axis and 16 on the y. Is that true? Let's see it. We can see these coordinates here too, also under the stage. X says 274 and the y says 16. So that's it. Our mouse is there at that position. I don't want him to be there. I want him to be at 0 at x and 0 at y. And if I click that, mouse will snap to that position. Cool. But I want that to happen every time I start the game. So when the green flag is clicked, which means when the game is started, mouse should go to x 0, y 0, and then start moving. Let's see if it works. Let's try again. Cool. So it works. It will work no matter how many times we click on it. But what I don't like looking here at our game is that mouse starts moving right away. I want mouse to make some kind of small pause before starting moving, and that can be achieved by using one of the control blocks, which are orange, and first from the top says wait 1 second, and that's what I'm going to use. But where to use it? I want to use it before mouse starts moving. This is game starting, this is go to starting position, and this is moving. I want my mouse to wait 1 second before moving. Before moving is this, and then just attach it like that. So now when the game starts, mouse will go to starting position, wait for 1 second, and then move to the right. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it works great. So mouse will wait for 1 second, and then he will start moving, and it will happen like that every time. Okay, that's cool. Now we can maybe start exploring our scratch block if on edge bounce. Let's see, where do we attach that one? I want my mouse to bounce when it touches the border, which already is written here on this block, if on edge bounce, but I have to be sure when I want that to happen. I want that to happen when in my movement block. Why? Because when the mouse is moving, I want Scratch to ask itself, is it on the edge, is it touching the edge? If it is, bounce. So I don't want my mouse to ask, I don't want Scratch to ask, is it mouse touching the edge on the start, on the starting position, after the waiting pause. No, but when do I want to ask that Scratch? I want to ask Scratch, is it mouse on the edge when the mouse is moving, and that is in this forever block. Why? Because that is where our mouse movement code is. Okay, let's see that in action. Okay, so mouse bounced, but he didn't keep on moving. He tries to move, but there is some kind of problem. And let me try that again. First of all, now we have made another problem, and that is that mouse is now oriented to the left. That's something we have to solve now before experimenting with bounce first. And we have fortunately we have learned that before in our set rotation style and point towards and point in direction, lessons, so we can use that knowledge now. So what do I want to do now? And what kind of problem I have now? That's what I was talking about in previous lesson. That would happen when you are making some kind of game. So we are making some kind of simple game, simple movement, and while we are making that kind of movement, we are progressing on it, we are making new problems and the game is falling apart on some different problems which we have to solve also, and we didn't think about them before starting coding. So the problem which we have now is to rotate the mouse to the right. We have learned that in few previous lessons, and that was the lesson which was explaining the scratch block name point in direction, and we have learned that direction 90 is to the right, minus 90 is to the left. Okay, so if I click on point in direction 90, mouse should be pointed to the right. So this is what I'm going to use now. And where should I attach this block? Well, again, I should attach this block on the start Why? Because I want my game to start like this every time. I want to, first of all, I will have to hide this butterfly also. He is annoying me a little bit. And let's go back to mouse. Yeah, where do I touch this point in direction block? I have to touch that on the start of my game. Why? Because I want my mouse character always to start pointing to the right, like mouse is looking to the right. So go to starting position, look to the right, and then do your thing. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we still have a problem with bouncing, but let's see when we start the game, will it reset to right look? Yeah, cool. So we have solved at least one problem. Now let's see what else we can make here to make it possible for our mouse to bounce away. Okay, I think I know the reason why this is happening, and the problem is if you look at this direction field now, reset the game, and now look at the direction field here under the stage to your right, and direction circle. Mouse is pointing to the right, to the 90 degrees, which is cool. That's what we wanted. Everything is okay. But when I start the game and mouse hits the wall, it will bounce back, meaning turn around. But the problem which will occur is that its direction will change from this look at the right at the 90 degrees to look at the left minus 90 degrees. Yeah, you can see that happen. And that's not a bug, that's a feature, that's what we wanted to do. And that's all cool, but the problem we have now is that mouse don't know where to go. Why? Because we told him here to use change x by 10, and if you remember from previous lessons where we had, oh yeah, this move is here already, great. When we have change x, if we wanted our character to move to the right, I will show it here by clicking, we use change x by 10, but if we wanted our character to move to the left, we should use negative numbers, minus. So minus 10 would be to the left and plus 10 to the right. That is all happening. Why all of it? Because if you remember when we were explaining coordinate system, and you can see those numbers to the left on the x-axis are with minus. So that's the, if you don't understand it all the way well, and if it doesn't make logic to you, just remember that if you want your character to move to the left, it will turn into negative numbers fast, and if you want to go to the right, it will turn into positive numbers fast. Same with y, if you want to go up, it will be plus, if you want to go down, it will be minus. Okay, let's go back to our mouse. So the problem I have now is here, is that I'm telling the mouse here, if you have see this block, I'm telling the mouse go to the right, but the mouse now is turned to the left, and you can see how he tries to move to the right, like he's making small movements, but he is jittering, he is glitching, and he's only making it works like and that is happening. Why? Because as I said, we are telling here mouse turn around if on edge, bounce, and then go to the right. So at the same position, at the same time we are making mouse completely confused, because we have made two completely different commands to him. We told him go to the right with this change x by 10, and we told him go to the left with this bounce. So he cannot go more to the right, he's already on the edge, and you tell him go to the right, and then he again goes touching the edge, bouncing. So again go back to the move to the right, bounce, move to the right, bounce, and so on. So it's completely endless confusing loop. Mouse is doing this. You told me to touch the right, I did. Then you told me to bounce and to go to the right, I did that. I touched it, bounce it, all okay, go to the right, I touched it, bounce it, and so on. So he's always touching the edge and going to the right, bounce, go to the right, bounce, go to the right. So we don't want that. That makes no sense, but we have made that accidentally by using this change x and bounce. So what do we want to do now and how to solve it? First of all, I will delete these two so I'm not confused with them, and instead of this block change x by 10, if you remember when I was explaining difference between change x and move blocks, this move block is used when we use some kind of rotation and change of direction, and this is exactly what we have did here. We have changed our direction from 90 pointing to the right to minus 90 pointing to the left. So I think this move 10 steps should be used instead of this change x, because this change x is not used when you have changes of rotations. And here in our sample we have change of rotation, so let's try with this move. Move 10 steps and let's see if it will work. Yeah, great. So this works as intended. This works like I wanted to make this mouse move, and it's great. I don't know how long it took me to, because I was explaining every possible step and why I do it, but it should be fast already. You don't have to explain anything, but it's fast and it's nice. And this for example, this mouse now can be some kind of enemy which our cat should avoid, and it should avoid touching green. Yeah, touch the green acid. So for example, you must avoid mouse and go up like this. Or maybe you could make some game where you can collect mouses, like touching them. We didn't code it yet, but so on, like try to collect as many mice as you can in the game. What else we can do here? First of all, I will delete this change x. So we have used this move 10 steps because that's the block which you will use when you have some kind of changes of direction and rotation of sprite in your game. And what do I want to change here now? Also, maybe we could try with adding this mouse had some kind of animation. If you remember, animations are defined with this costume. So when you have different kind of pictures here, for example, for some characters you will have only one picture, but for this one we have 1 and 2. So if you go clicking on this costumes or on these pictures here, it will look like mouse is moving. So let's use that also. We have explained that before in our previous lessons. And the scratch block which we are supposed to use is at the looks block, the indigo one, and the one we need is called next costume, I think. Let's try to add that one to our game, and where do we attach this block? I want mouse to change its costume, its picture when the mouse is moving. And where can I find that? Here is the code for the mouse movement. Move, bounce. So there is the mouse moving, and that's where I will add this costume. Next costume, block. I will add it on the start so the mouse starts moving right away. Yeah, it looks nice, it looks great, at least for me, for some simple game. And we have now mouse moving and bouncing off the wall. So we have learned how and when to use this scratch block if on edge bounce, and we have also used point in direction, and we have used first change X by, but we have changed it with the move block. Maybe you can try to use this point towards, and you can use set rotation style. Yeah, actually we can use also set rotation. Let's go to motion blocks, and but because we're moving mouse only to the left and the right, there will be no visible change. But let's just add it to make it more complex. Okay, so the last thing which I will add here, you don't have to, is when I'm defining the mouse at the start of the game, I'm telling the scratch, go set the mouse at the 0 and 0 coordinates, point him into direction 90 degrees, that means right, and set his rotation styles to left, right. Let's save it, let's zoom out, and let's test it. Oh yeah, there is some kind of difference, slight, small, but visible. If you look at the mouse now with this set rotation style, and look at the mouse now without, it will look like this mouse when it hits the wall and bounces away, it will go a little bit up or a little bit down. And that's how this if on edge bounce is working by default. That's how Scratch programmers made it. Let's see that in action. No, that's because he now there is no change now, because he is by default set as all around, and I have changed him in last step to the left, right, so I have to reverse him to all around. Click on him right now. Okay, so now it will be visible. Now this is the default state how it would look like if you were not using this set rotation style. And you can see it goes up, down, up a little bit, down when it bounces. Maybe you like this, maybe you like this motion and you like this behavior. I don't like it. No, maybe I don't know. I don't know if I like it or not. For mouse it makes sense to be like that. For mouse and some animals and some living creatures, it makes sense actually to behave like that. It looks more random. But if we had some kind of elevator or platform moving to left to the right, which is automatic, which is machine, you don't want it to go up and down a little bit like that. You always want it to go into straight line. So this is how it will. So this is what this set rotation style left to and right will resolve. So you have to experiment, you have to learn by doing, and that's what we are doing here now. And don't be afraid. So for example, if this mouse is moving too fast now, we have learned that before, but if you have forget that or never tried, you're now in problem. If your character is moving too fast, okay, I don't want my character to move so fast. I want to change it. How to do it, I don't know. Let's try. Let's see, where is the movement is here in forever block. Where is the movement? More precise movement is here in move 10 steps. Okay, so if my character is moving 10 steps and that is too fast, maybe I should change it to 5 or 6 steps. Maybe it will make it move slower. Let's see what will happen. Yeah, it looks slower now. So try to experiment, try to play with Scratch. That's what the Scratch is for. And try to learn programming, games or applications like that. That's the only way, that's the best way. I apologize again and sorry if this took me too long to explain this block, but we have learned a lot of other things and we have experimented a little bit with some of the Scratch blocks which we have learned before, so it was a nice exercise and I hope it helped you on your Scratch journey. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for watching and hope I see you in next videos. Bye for now and keep on scratching.